the record, that was pretty cool, walking through that door. It's my distinct pleasure to be here with you today. My name is Brian Thompson. I have the pleasure and honor of managing the CAD products for PTC. And I'm excited to share with you for the first time in a public audience the launch of PTC Creo 3.0. PTC Creo 3.0 is a huge release. Just ask any of the 2-3 dozen of the best CAD R&D professionals in the world that are here in the office that work on Creo every day. It's an enormous release. We've packed a ton of improvements into all the apps that you see across the entire spectrum of the product development process. Whether you're interested in, say, concept design or detailed design, maybe you're interested in simulation, manufacturing, illustrations for downstream service, we've improved every aspect of Creo. And today at this event, and going into the rest of the week, you're going to get an opportunity to review all of that. There'll be breakout sessions on just about everything that I have to talk about today. And I'm going to hit some of the highlights as we go through here in the next 45 minutes, okay? So, what's PTC Creo 3.0 all about? Well, we've got three big themes in the release. The first big theme that we're really excited about is the introduction of Unite technology. Unite technology is our breakthrough multi-CAD capabilities built into the Creo platform. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on that. The other two topics we're going to talk about are concept development. Our strategy in concept design is to make sure you can use the paradigm that you want to use and never lose any data fidelity whatsoever as you carry those concepts into detailed design. Okay? And last but not least, we'll talk a lot about the productivity improvements we put in many of the apps on the Creo platform. So let's get started with Unite technology. So there are 4 key components to the Unite technology platform. First of all, we have the ability in Creo 3.0 to import all of the major CAD formats that you see out there, built right into the platform, okay? We've also got this very interesting capability to open some of the key capabilities. This is CATIA, NX, SolidWorks. We can open those into the platform, and I'll talk to you a little about why that's important when we talk about use cases. We've also got the ability to automatically update those open formats, and last but not least, we've got the capability to save as, to export out a copy of what you're working on in one of those 3 key formats as well, okay? So we're going to talk about this technology and how it's useful to you and your enterprise in a couple of key use cases. The first one is consolidation. Obviously we're interested in trying to have you consolidate onto Creo, and we're going to talk about collaboration, the ability for you to work with suppliers and partners whose decision about CAD you have no control over, but we want to help you collaborate with them more efficiently. All right? So let's talk about consolidation. Now, why would you want to consolidate? Well, it depends upon who you are in the audience. You might have a different answer. I'm sure we have some IT professionals in the audience, and if you work in IT, consolidation is interesting to you because you don't want to manage multiple CAD technologies platforms, right? You want to have a single technology platform that you manage for your engineering organization to get their work done. It costs you a lot of extra money, it costs you a lot of extra time to keep all of that stuff up to date. Really what you'd like to do is try to have everybody working on the same system. Okay? Now what if you're in engineering? Maybe you're in engineering management. You've got engineers in one part of your business working on one CAD platform, engineers in another part of your business working on another CAD platform. This can be really inefficient for you. You don't have full flexibility in terms of how you're going to use the resources that you have at your disposal. So you can't be as efficient in product development that way, right? You want to optimize the use of your engineering resources. You need everybody on one CAD platform. And with PTC Creo 3.0 and Unite technology, we're going to help you get to a single CAD platform as efficiently as possible. The 2 key pieces of technology that are part of Unite that are going to help you with that are the ability to import and open. Okay, so let's consider you're in a situation where you've got to consolidate, and it's time to think about just how are we going to carry out a program like that. When companies think about consolidating, there's a few different ways where you can do that, right? You could think about maybe a 100% upfront conversion process. You can use the import capabilities built on Creo 3.0, import all that data right into Creo. Most companies looking at this approach, they say, well, I'm not so sure I need to carry all of that data forward. I'm going to try to do more of an on-demand approach. I'm going to, sort of ride the wave of when I need to touch the object, I'm going to bring it over into my new system, and I'm going to go carry forward from there. And that can work really, really well. Import technology built on Creo 3.0 can help you do that from all the major CAD formats that you'll see out there outside of Creo, right? So that could work really, really well. And of course, the reason you do that is because over time, you save money. it's a lot more efficient for you to consolidate onto a single platform by taking the data over onto the new platform when you need to, okay, and not moving everything over at once. With Creo 3.0, we're going to take that blue curve and we're going to push it down even further for you. Okay, we're going to give you the opportunity to do this really in an optimal fashion. And it really comes down to the difference between the ability to import and the ability to open. So let's talk about that and how that's helpful. First, we'll see it graphically, and then I'll actually show you some software, okay? You can imagine trying to consolidate onto Creo. You've got some SolidWorks in your enterprise, and when you import data over into Creo, you actually make a copy, right? You get new data over there. And listen, if all of that data is data that you want to bring forward in Creo, that works great. That can work fine for you. All that data is over, but when I talk to engineers about doing this, when I had to do this as an engineer back in my early career before working at PTC, a lot of times when you're bringing data over, the reason you're doing it is because you got to make change to maybe one object, but you need the proper design context. So you can imagine you have to make a change to this one object in the middle of this assembly, but you've moved an entire assembly over just to make that change to one object. So you've actually burdened the business with converting hundreds of objects potentially, simply because you wanted to make a change to one object. This is not as efficient as it could be, but until Creo 3.0, there was no other way to do this, okay? With Creo 3.0, we're going to give you a different opportunity, a much more efficient way of doing this. With Open, you bring the assembly into Creo as is, okay? There are no new business objects created whatsoever. Nothing new for your business to manage. All the data is in Creo. So the design engineer has the design context they need, but the business hasn't yet had to bear the burden of any new business objects. So now I go in and I make my change to the one object that I need to make a change to. I change that one object, and by the way, when you go touch an object that's not owned by Creo, Creo knows that, calls a timeout and says, hey, would you like to convert that object to Creo? You say, yes, I would. You convert that object automatically. That object gets converted right there in the design context, and maybe its owning assembly gets converted, and so now you've converted two objects in the context of hundreds as part of your project, right? Minimal burden to the company. That's how we ride that green curve that I showed you on the past slide, okay? So let's see it in the software now. This is PTC Creo 3.0 with Unite technology enabled. What you're going to see here at the beginning is I'm starting out in this nice truck assembly. It's mainly a Creo assembly, but we're going to bring in a cooling assembly, a front radiator assembly from NX, and we're going to use file open to do that. We're activating an assembly, we're file open an NX subassembly. There's maybe 20, 30, 40 parts in this assembly. And the task here is I have to edit the fan, the front fan. I need to pull more air through that fan for this application, so I've got to do some work. But I need the design context, right? So here I am, I'm in Creo, and you know that PTC Creo has great technology for modifying imported models that have been brought into Creo. Here you see Creo calling a timeout and saying, hey, would you like to convert this object to Creo? And sure enough, we converted that object to Creo, and now you see Creo models in the same context as NX models, sitting side by side right there in the Creo assembly. Now I can go ahead and use the great flex modeling technology to modify this model. It's now a Creo model. I'm using flex modeling technology to do things like change the diameter of the central hub, to change the number of fan blades in the fan, to change the diameter of all the fan blades in the fan. Right? Really cool flex modeling technology. You've seen this before from us, but now it's enabled in this multi-CAD context and really gives you some nice leverage. Okay, of course, if I've changed the number of fan blades, changed the diameter of the fans, I'm going to pull more air through, and I'm going to change the number of mounting elements to mount this fan blade to the assembly. And then I'll use some brand new technology from our partners at B&W that's integrated into Creo Parametric 3.0 to use standard fasteners to just assemble that fan blade to the assembly. All right, so that's consolidation with PTC Creo 3.0 and Unite technology. Really compelling stuff. Just to run through some of the benefits, we're going to help you reduce IT inefficiencies associated with multiple CAD platforms. We're going to help you use your engineering resources as efficiently as possible. We've built that on-demand conversion so you can convert on the fly. And I should pause and tell you right here that everything you've seen so far, open capability, all the input capabilities, conversion upon demand, everything is all free of charge in Creo if you are active on support. What do you think of that? All right? Needless to say, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to consolidate onto Creo, right? Okay, so let's talk about collaboration. As I hinted at earlier, the collaboration is more about making you as efficient as possible when you're collaborating with suppliers and partners whose CAD decision is out of your control, right? Okay, so we want you to be just as efficient working with the supplier down the street as you are working with the engineer next door or the engineer that's somewhere in your enterprise. That's the goal of our collaboration capabilities. And we're going to use this open technology again. We're also going to show you how this automatic update and save as technology can help. We'll use the same approach. I'll show you a graphic here. I've already explained to you that with Creo 3.0, we can bring those objects right into Creo. So I got this cool multi-CAD assembly. Well, now, how do updates work? Well, the good news is updates work just like they work with Creo objects. There is nothing new for the engineers to learn. When a change occurs, that change is checked into Windchill. That change can be brought into Creo right on the fly, right in session. It's no different than updating your objects in session when you have Creo objects out of date. It works exactly the same way. In fact, with PTC Creo 3.0 and Windchill 10.2 M30, we will proactively notify you if you have objects in your session that are out of date. As soon as an object is checked in, all you have to do is regenerate your assembly. You are notified proactively. You have objects that are out of date, and those objects can be brought in, whether they're CATIA objects, SolidWorks objects, NX objects, Creo objects. They're all brought in together, okay? So your engineers don't have to learn anything new. It works exactly the same way. You can keep those objects up to date. It even goes a step further than that. Because we're encouraging this collaboration, you can actually start to build cross-platform design intent between models that are from a foreign CAD system and Creo objects. Okay, you're actually going to see that in this video. I'm going to show you here in a second. This is really important. Again, we're trying to make you not think about what the types of objects are that are in Creo. We want you to collaborate just like you would with any CAD format. Okay, so let's take a look again in the video. I want to mention that the save as capability here is also there right in the platform. I'm not showing that in the video, so I have it here on the graphic. You can save a multi-CAD assembly out as a single format, okay? Or you can save your existing Creo assembly out before you do anything with multi-CAD, okay? It doesn't matter what's in there. You can save all that stuff out. Let's see the video now. In this situation, I'm starting with a similar truck assembly. It's a little bit smaller. The first thing I'm going to do with this truck assembly is I'm going to bring in the cab. The cab was completely designed in CATIA, okay? So I'm going to bring that in using the file open capability. This is an early design of the cab. And as is done with most assemblies of this size, it's just a simple coordinate system placement assembly technique. That's not required. You can do really, high fidelity geometry to geometry placements, but in a large assembly like this, coordinate systems are used quite a bit. And now what we're going to start doing is, as the Creo design engineer, I'm going to start doing some very basic design of the brackets to hold the tank. This tank is going to be designed in SolidWorks. And I have a basic idea of the size of the tank and a basic idea of the positioning, but I haven't gotten the initial design of the SolidWorks tank from my supplier yet. So here I'm finally going to get the initial design of my SolidWorks tank from the supplier. And I'm going to bring that in using file open. I'm positioning it. And now I'm going to go back and do some design work on my brackets. I'm going to actually finish this design work. This is nothing more than a simple volume I put in here to kind of get an idea of the space I need. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to create an important relationship, a cross-platform relationship between the SolidWorks object and the Creo object. I'm going to use copy geom technology. This is technology you guys know and love, technology you've seen before. That copy geom technology gives me the opportunity of shaping the shape of my brackets to match the SolidWorks tank. So as I carry forward here, I say I got a nice sheet metal object, I can actually carry forward my design, finish that sheet metal object out, and I can start building downstream deliverables off of that object. Now remember, I got a relationship to a SolidWorks object here, but it's robust, okay? So I can build downstream deliverables, I can build additional hardware, I can do things like build a drawing of this tank. I can build a drawing of the bracket that I've designed. There's the drawing of the tank, there's the drawing of the bracket. I can even do some preliminary simulation in Creo Simulate to start getting an idea of how this bracket's going to perform. I'm doing this all in the context of the design process. Many of you wouldn't do this with your suppliers and partners parts because it's so inefficient for changes to come in if you had to design around those changes. But here you see, when a change occurs, when I hit regen, I'm notified proactively of those changes. I have changes in my Creo objects, my SolidWorks objects, and my CATIA objects. And when I regenerate and update those changes in session, you see the CATIA angle of that top cab change right in session, and watch this change on the SolidWorks object. Pretty impressive, right? All the geometry changed, the geometry in my bracket changed, and because of the power of associativity on the Creo platform, all of the downstream deliverables associated with those changes have all updated automatically. It's the same level of high fidelity associativity you would expect from Creo. It's been applied even when you update these non-PTC Creo data objects in a Creo session. Okay? This technology is enabled with 3 new collaboration extensions built on the Creo platform, one for CATIA, one for SolidWorks, one for NX, okay? So that's collaboration on the Creo platform with Unite technology, this great capability to basically drive collaboration efficiency in your organization, shrink product development times, because you're going to be able to collaborate just as efficiently with your suppliers and partners using those formats as you can with the engineers that are down the hall with you, okay? So that's Unite technology on the Creo platform. We have a complete session dedicated to this here at the event. You can ask more questions. Come see us on the shop floor. Mark Schutz is here in the audience. He's going to be presenting this and a real deep dive on this technology. He's got some other great examples to show you, so I think you're going to really enjoy that. Let's talk about concept design. As I mentioned earlier, concept design is really important to PTC for 2 reasons. We recognize that customers have a variety of paradigms they want to use in the concept design phase, and we recognize that 100% of the data that they generate in the concept design phase, they want to reuse without losing any data fidelity whatsoever, okay? They want complete reuse of that design. And we've continued to bring forward our concept design technologies in Creo to help you do just that. Hopefully you're familiar with Freestyle. It's our free-form modeling surfacing capability built into the Creo platform. And it's right in there in Creo parametric. And one of the things we've done with that now in Creo 3.0 is we've added the ability to control the boundaries of a free-form surface object using alignment tools. So this early workflow here, hopefully you're familiar with, is sort of the push and pull of a control mesh to create these free-form surfaces. You don't have to worry about building patch structures. We handle all that. But what's about to happen next, this alignment, this is the alignment of ISDX-based curves with Freestyle feature, right? So now you're controlling the boundaries of the Freestyle object. In the front here, I'm taking an initial sketch, okay? And I'm aligning the Freestyle surfaces with the sketch. And I'm not only aligning it, but I'm also telling the system that I want the angle of attack to be normal into those curves. So I can actually align to surfaces with tangency, I can align to planes or curves being normal. And now when I make a change, as you see here to that sketch, the Freestyle object just updates and regenerates. Very, very powerful stuff, right? You could imagine all sorts of design scenarios where you need free-form geometry controlled at its boundaries with parametric geometry. And now you can do that with Freestyle, built right into the Creo parametric. Okay, Freestyle's been something you've been getting on the Creo platform just for being on support, and that continues here. There's nothing new to pay for that technology either. Okay, let's talk about Creo Layout. Creo Layout is our purpose-built 2D conceptual engineering tool, okay? This is built for those types of products like industrial equipment, axisymmetric equipment, things like that, that are really, really well engineered in 2D before you start carrying the geometry into 3D. And with this technology, we've introduced the concept of sub-layouts. You could think of sub-layouts as a sub-assembly or a part in an assembly that can be created at any time from objects that are in your master layout. And now the engineer whose assignment is to go work on that sub-layout can go work on that sub-layout apart from the master layout. The engineer can work on that separately. It's the same type of collaborative environment you would imagine with someone in your design team working on a particular part that's part of an assembly. It works exactly the same way. I can go in and make changes to that sub-layout like you see in here. I extended the shaft, I added a keyway. This is important for the interface. And now when I'm done, I incorporate that back into the master layout. This also works the other way. It sort of works from the top down. I can have other engineers working on sub-layouts that I've never seen before, and I can incorporate those in. Think of this as just adding a new assembly or a new part to my assembly, right? It's the same type of technology under the hood. We bring those sub-layouts in, they snap to positions, we have a nice workflow for that, and now it's in. See, so fast forwarding a little bit, now I've got some geometry. And we're gonna take a look at how update control works in this new world in Creo Layout 3.0. We've put quite a bit of work into update control. It's very, very high fidelity in Creo 3.0. Here we're going to make some very quick changes to the assembly. We've got to thicken up this flange. We're going to actually add a new part to the assembly and create some new geometry for that part. And you'll see when we get the updates in Creo 3.0 parametric, there's going to be some really nice high fidelity information that the 3D design engineer gets to see when those changes come across, right? So there's quite a bit of work happening here in 2D, but in Creo 2.0, all of that work will be represented in a single change of a single feature. So you have to kind of sort of accept that, and hopefully you can visualize what the changes are. In Creo 3.0, we're going to give you entity by entity updates on exactly what's changed in the 2D environment. So here you see I've got some outdated geometry, and I have this ability in Creo 3.0 to show the differences. I can actually see the differences before I accept the changes in Creo 3.0. And now what you see here is I have the 3D design engineer isolating just the changes that have occurred in 2D so we can investigate on an entity by entity level exactly what's happened in 2D before he accepts those changes. You can isolate things that have changed, things that have been deleted, things that have been added. You see it all there right in the layout, very nice and easy to follow. We actually have color coding of that in the model tree as well. So you can see all of that together at one time. And now, when the change is brought into Creo, when I hit that update tool, I know exactly what's going to happen, right? So I'm well educated about exactly what's going to happen before I accept that change from 2D to 3D. Okay, so Creo layout, a lot more scalable. With the introduction of sub-layouts, you can take your design, break it down into pieces, and work with much larger layouts. And with this greater scalability comes the added benefit of a much better 3D integration that gives you a view of exactly what's changed and how it's changed before you accept changes, okay? We'll talk a little bit about Creo Direct. Creo Direct is yet another tool in the Creo platform that's today built for concept design. It's completely interoperable with Creo Parametric. We have a session again here at the event dedicated to that interoperability. And Creo Direct and Creo 3.0 grows up even further. You see a much more mature looking product here. We're going to add a new component in the assembly context. You'll notice there's quite a bit of work in this video working in assembly mode, in cross-section mode, while you're in assembly mode. This is a really nice paradigm for direct modeling users. They like to work in cross-section mode. It's a nice way to visualize your design. And even though you're working in cross-section mode, we're creating real, fully revolved geometry here. It's just a nice, convenient way of visualizing what you're working on. Okay, so you see, I've made this new component. I'm using some surrounding geometry from the parts around me to create 2D elements that I can then extrude up to create 3D elements. This is all new geometry in my part. And now that I've got this added sub-assembly with this new part in it, we have this nice capability called shared occurrence where I can repeat an existing component in my assembly. It's very simple. It's right there on the right mouse button in Creo Direct. And now I have it right there on the pointer, and I can assemble that in. Okay? So that's shared occurrence. I'm going to show a little bit more about cross-section mode in Creo Direct. It's pretty interesting. There was quite a bit of investment there. It's as simple as picking a plane. You see this cross-section mode, but we've got other capabilities as well. We can do things like see the cross-section in a 2D window. We can see interferences dynamically. You see that bright red area. That's an interference in the cross-section. You see that dynamically as you drag. That dynamic interference can be shown whether you're linearly dragging, whether you're dragging rotationally. You can change the angle of the cross-section right there in the window. It's all dynamic, updating in 2D and in 3D for you. Okay? We can actually go in and exclude components. You can go tell the system, I only want certain components to be part of this cross-section. You'll see that here. And you see those updates happening automatically, both in the 2D and in the 3D window. Okay? And now what I'm going to go in at the very end here is I'm going to go and use the Move tool in the assembly context while cross-section is active to eliminate the interference we saw earlier. Okay? So that's Creo direct modeling technology, built on the Creo platform, coming over from the Creo Elements Direct product line to make this product more and more mature, but in a way that's completely interoperable with the rest of the platform. Now, let's talk about concept design for you parametric modeling users out there. I know there's a few of you in the room here today. We're introducing a new extension with Creo 3.0. It's called Design Exploration Extension. What this extension does in a nutshell is it gives you the opportunity of building efficient design branches in your designs in your design environment right there in Creo Parametric. You can build an arbitrarily wide and deep design space no more do you have to, say, create a sort of web of folders on your hard drive to save different design concepts. You can actually do that right here with the flexible model, with the design expiration extension. What this gives you the opportunity to do is evaluate multiple design alternatives, maybe evaluate different modeling practices to achieve a particular design goal, or even think about the situations where you've had a copy geom change, maybe in a top-down design scenario, and that change has just wreaked havoc on your model, right? And you wish you didn't accept that change. You wish you didn't integrate that change. You'll actually be able to temporarily accept changes like that using design expiration extension. Graphically, the way it works is like this. Your object is moving along in the PDM process. You finally decide, I gotta make a change, and you enter design expiration session. We save a checkpoint to get started. And from there, you can start doing work. And if at any point in time you like what you've done and you think this is a good point to save, you just save a checkpoint and you move on. And you can build checkpoints off of other checkpoints. Like I said earlier, as deep and as wide as you like to go, you can go. Okay? You keep building this design space, and as you get through here, you can sit down with your peers, you can review these different checkpoints to see which design concept you like the best. You can move on from whichever one you choose. Maybe in this case you choose checkpoint 6. You pick that one, you apply that to your session. Now that becomes the model of record, and you can go check that back in. I should mention that each of these checkpoints is not a complete copy of all of your data saved on your hard drive. It's actually incremental information from one checkpoint to the other, so it's very, very lightweight. And as you go through this design process, once you check this in, you haven't lost your design space. Okay? This design space can actually be packaged up and checked in as secondary content with your object, so you can always go back and find out, why did we choose checkpoint 6? Why didn't we choose maybe checkpoint 9 or checkpoint 11, whatever? You can always go back and figure that out, okay? So what does it look like in the software? Let's take a look. We got a simple chair concept here. We're gonna just give you a feel for how design expiration extension works. We're gonna enter a design expiration extension session, give it a name, and we'll get started. And it's really as simple as doing the modeling you like to do, but if at any point in time you like what you've done and you want to save it, you just go right up into the checkpoint panel and just add a checkpoint. It's really as simple as that, right? So here I'm adding a checkpoint that saves this change that I made to the number of legs in the chair, okay? Now I know I have a different version of the back of this chair that has the armrests mounted to the back. I think that might be a little bit better, so I'm going to resume those armrests and suppress the other ones, and I'll save that as a checkpoint. Okay? Now I'm going to go in and maybe fool around, and you see how easy it is to move from one checkpoint to the other. We're only applying the incremental change, so it's very quick to move from one checkpoint to the other. Here I'm going to change the shape of the legs. Oops, had a feature failure there, right? You saw that? I didn't want to hide that with movie magic, because this is design expiration extension. It's a free environment. You're never committed to any of these changes. If you have feature failures, it's no problem. Just suppress that feature. You can deal with it later. Here we're going to do a little bit of freestyle stuff. I know Moshe and Paul got a little crazy with the freestyle headrests on the chair, but it illustrates a really important concept of branching different design alternatives. And you've already seen freestyle, so I'm kind of fast forwarding through the freestyle work here to just illustrate, the creation of a number of different headrests that you could have on this chair. Here's another one. And we also see we can go back to the original headrest concept and branch off of there. We're creating another secondary branch off the original headrest concept to create a new headrest concept. Okay, so you can do this with freestyle. You can do this with really any core modeling mode, part mode, assembly mode, sheet metals, mechanisms. It all works in design expiration extension. It's right there in the core of Creo parametric. Okay, and now you can see how easy it is to cycle through these different checkpoints and see the updates dynamically in your session. The one last element that I want to share with you is this change consequences issue. This update control capability with design expiration extension, this manual update with notification, it gives you the ability of evaluating changes in a copy geom in your session. Just like we were able to evaluate changes from 2D to 3D, these crazy changes that are being made to this copy geom that drive the surface of the chairs, the user's being notified that there are 2 outdated copy geoms. The notification center, new in Creo 3.0, can be used to go find those out-of-date features, and you can temporarily accept them in a design expiration extension session. You can first investigate the possibilities of what might happen here by using the show differences. You see a very similar UI here. I can isolate what's changed and see what the impact might be. But if I enter design expiration extension, I see what the impact really is. I've got all these feature failures. I don't want to deal with these feature failures right now. I can exit out and none of the changes are applied. Okay, so this gives you the opportunity of temporarily accepting any change, not being committed to it, and being able to go back and talk with the design engineer who made the change. Okay, so that's design expiration extension, new with PTC Creo 3.0. All right, let's talk a little bit about efficiency improvements in Creo. I have a number of different topics to talk about here. Just going to go across Creo Parametric and some of the other apps. I think you'll like what you hear here. First thing is we've completely revamped the help in Creo 3.0. This applies to all the apps. The help is now searchable on the web. You don't even need to install help. If you give your design engineers access to the internet, it's simply a matter of opening up a browser, searching for the topic you want, you'll find the information. But it goes further than that. We've also integrated startup tutorials into the help. And if you want to know what's new, just ask the help. There are over 100 what's new videos for Creo 3.0 linked directly from this help. Okay, so you can find out really everything you'd want to know about the product from the help. Really nice improvements. As I mentioned earlier, we have a brand new intelligent fastener set of capabilities built right into Creo 3.0, right out of the box from our partners at B&W. We've got some great capabilities here. There's also a new extension that adds additional capabilities on top of what you get, but everybody gets basic standard fasteners right out of the box built into Creo 3.0. We've added a new round option. The industrial designers that I talk to, that Paul Sagat talks to, they've been constantly asking for this constant width round capability. It's there in Creo 3.0. You can check that out. We've got a brand new MathCAD integration coming with Creo 3.0. With Creo 3.0, you can embed a MathCAD object inside your Creo object, connect your MathCAD inputs and outputs to Creo parameters, and drive some pretty compelling changes to your Creo model from what you know of as a fantastic engineering calculation system in MathCAD, right? So you can do some pretty compelling things. This is, you know, one step closer to MathCAD being a really, really powerful relations engine for Creo. Okay, really, really nice capabilities there. I should also mention that we're shipping MathCAD Express with every seat of Creo Parametric, so every engineer doesn't have to do anything special. They can take advantage of these capabilities. This capability works with a MathCAD Express worksheet or a full worksheet. We've also completely revamped what we used to call reroute, we now call edit references. It's much, much more powerful. I have no chance of explaining how powerful it is here in front of you. We have a dedicated session on managing references in Creo here at the event. Trust me when I tell you, you're going to really love this. The one thing I will mention is, have you ever lost a reference and then gone and said, I can't even visualize what that reference used to look like, so I have no idea what to pick, right? Has that ever happened to you? I'm sure it has, right? Well, in Creo 3.0, we save an image of the last known good reference, always. So you will always have an idea of exactly what reference you're missing when a reference is lost, okay? So I think you'll like that. It'll be really, really helpful. You'll get to see that later. I think it's tomorrow or Wednesday. Don Breed is going to do a session on this. Really cool stuff. We have some nice tools in Creo 3.0 to help you with injection molded part design. First, integrated right into the core of the product is a brand new 3D thickness check. But secondly, and I'm really excited about this, we're announcing a partnership with Moldex 3D. They have integrated mold filling analysis right into the product. Everybody gets it, basic capabilities. And we're also announcing an extension to PTC Creo Parametric 3.0 that builds on these capabilities and gives you really, really advanced first-class mold filling analysis capabilities right in the Creo platform. Integrated right in the Creo platform, built with our UI toolkit. You have exactly the same user experience you'd expect with this technology built right into Creo, okay? We're excited about that, and you can go talk to the Moldex guys about it and talk to Russell Sue on my team about it as well. We've got some nice demos we can show you that go a little further than this filling. We've also done a lot of work on our graphics infrastructure in Creo 3.0. This video will show you a really immersive environment that you have in Creo 3.0. You're seeing some really nice high fidelity material classes built right into the product that are available out of the box in Creo. Not only can you assign cool materials to your products, but you can adjust the way those materials look. This is a wood grain, but you see I can adjust the angle, the shape, the intensity of the wood grain. You can adjust the way that this cast aluminum looks by making the indentations look like they're in or out of the material, the size of those things. This is all happening on the graphics card. This is not going to slow down your session because it's all been sent out to the graphics card for calculations. You can also see this in a nice HDR environment. You see reflections of the environment right on on the coffee maker here. This is all done on the graphics card, so it doesn't burden the CPU, so you can really work in a design environment, do real design work with the product looking like you're holding it in your hand, okay? Really nice technology for improving, especially, consumer products. And consumer products companies will be really interested in that nice improvement. Okay, Creo Simulate really grows up in Creo 3.0. I don't have time to go into this in all the details here, but I really wanted to point out the sliding contact with friction improvements we made in Creo 3.0. It's a really nice capability. You see a nice animation of a results window here. There's a whole dedicated session on this here at the event. Creo Simulate really gets a lot better in Creo 3.0. We've also done some nice work with flexible modeling extension. I want to show you just a little bit more flex modeling. Everything I showed you earlier in flex modeling in the consolidation video is stuff you can actually do with flex modeling today. But in Creo 3.0, we're adding a 3D solver to flex modeling. So you can do things like control the propagation of tangency of surrounding surfaces when you edit a single surface. This is technology that our engineers, our R&D engineers built right into the product. It gives us complete control over how the technology evolves. We didn't license anything here. And it gives you the ability to do interesting things like you're seeing here with controlling how we fix certain surfaces and control exactly what kind of solution you get when you make a geometry-based edit. We've also introduced a completely new pattern option in flex modeling. It's called a flex pattern. It's a geometry-based pattern, but the strength of this pattern is that it's got flexible modeling technology underneath it. This flexible modeling technology gives the pattern members the capability of adjusting to different topologies as the pattern members go across the surface of the part. So what you see here is we do this fill pattern of this boss. What you'll see is the boss, as it goes across that lip, the rounds, the geometry will all extend down and regenerate just fine. Okay? This is a new flexible technology-based pattern. Well, the other thing you're seeing here is the fact that I've chosen a member kind of towards the end of the pattern group, and I'm changing its diameter, and I'm propagating that change to the rest of the pattern members, right? That's not unique to flex modeling. In Creo 3.0, you no longer have to find the leader of the pattern to do a reference pattern. You can do it from any pattern member. Okay? So that's a nice improvement across the board. It actually applies really nicely in this video as well. ECAD collaboration extension grows up nicely as well. We've gotten this request from many, many customers to support flexible boards. Well, you can finally support flexible boards and ECAD collaboration extension. Customers are going to really, really like that. We've got a brand new harness manufacturing extension built with the guys from Virtual Interconnect. They've done a great job with this. Significant streamline of building harness manufacturing documentation. Really nice capabilities. You can go check that out while you're here. And certainly, last but not least, we've done quite a bit of work in our manufacturing tools. Things like handling multitask machining much better. You can use the 3D dragger now to handle and control the axis of your tool. Really nice capabilities. We've done some nice volume milling things and other things. Jose Coronado is here at the booth. He's the guy with the big 3D printer next to him in the PTC Creo area. Jose, frankly, is also responsible for our 3D printing strategy. You can talk to him about that as well here at the event. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention PTC Creo Elements Direct 19.0. We're excited to launch that product here at the event as well. It's an important part of the product family at PTC. We have a separate session. Bertold Hoog is gonna go through all the details of PTC Creo Elements Direct 19.0. I have a few elements I want to share with you. We've also introduced some multi-CAD capabilities here. Not only the ability to import SolidWorks and Inventor files into Elements Direct 19.0, but also better interoperability with Creo. We're sharing things like cross-sections and semantic PMI. And we even now have the ability of opening drawings from the Elements Direct platform into Creo. So we're building that bridge for the data to come from Elements Direct into the Creo platform. We've got improved workflows, improved tools for building lofted surfaces. We've got nice design workflows in the assembly context for working with edges in the assembly context and making changes all at once to a bunch of different surfaces using edge tools. So really nice improvements in Elements Direct 19.0. It's an important part of our strategy. You can check that out here as well. Okay, just a little bit on timing. PTC Creo 3.0 releases in July, about 1 month from now. It releases, okay? With that release, you get all the import capabilities I talked about, except for Solid Edge. Solid Edge comes in another maintenance release coming up here soon, and you get 3 new collaboration extensions. You get the collaboration extensions for SolidWorks, CATIA, and NX, okay? We also have an M10 release coming in the sort of late September, early October timeframe that has that Solid Edge import, and the PTC Creo mold analysis extension that I showed you about that's powered by Moldex, that comes in M10. And then M20 here towards the end of the year, this introduces the file open capabilities I talked about. And it's integrated quite nicely with the Windchill 10.2 M30 that introduces this really cool workflow for automatic conversions and stuff like that. That's the roadmap for the back half of the year. But you'll be able to get your hands on PTC Creo 3.0 here in mid-July. Should I pause while more of you take pictures of that slide? All right, let me move on here. A little bit of logistics in terms of support. We're supporting Windows 7 and Windows 8. There's been some Windows 8 and 8.1 update releases out there. We're supporting those as well, 32 and 64-bit. We're really strongly supporting 64-bit. I suggest you use 64-bit with Creo, but there's still some people out there using 32-bit. We're going to continue to support that. Windchill compatibility. Okay, Windchill 10.1, M40 plus, Windchill 10.2, M20 plus, and the full Unite experience. All the enhanced workflows start, as I mentioned on the previous slide, with Windchill 10.2 M30 plus, okay, which happens in the first calendar quarter of next year. Okay, so it's all coming together there with the M30 release and that release. A little bit on virtualization. We announced support for virtualization last year. We're now announcing support for virtual GPU in the virtualization domain. This is nice because you can now share GPUs on multiple Creo sessions. It actually brings the value proposition of virtualizing Creo up a level. You can actually get a lot more value out of that. So that's new. And we're also announcing at this event that Creo Sketch has been deployed on the iPad. That's really sweet. I've seen a demo of it. It's really neat. I think tomorrow in Mike Campbell's keynote, you'll actually get to see that as well. Pretty cool stuff. Just a little bit more I want to talk about in terms of futures. What are we working on in the labs? I gave you a little bit of hint about 3D printing. 3D printing is one area that we're spending a lot of time on right now. I know it's a hot topic with many of you. And just go see Jose. He's got a lot to say about 3D printing in the booth. We're working on this quite a bit. We have an active, brand new technical committee that we're working with on this topic. And you can expect to continue to hear from us on 3D printing topics. We want to make design for additive manufacturing something that you can do better with Creo than you can do with any other CAD platform out there. Okay, that's our goal. We're also introducing, or we're working with some partners. We're not actually ready to introduce anything formally yet, but we're working with some key partners on a new app developer platform. It's a platform that will help our partners build Creo extensions, certify them with Creo, so that you get a little bit of extra sort of oomph there with the certification on the Creo platform, and take those certified Creo extensions and very easily move them to be certified Creo apps on the app platform. Okay, so we're working on this with a few key partners. And you'll be seeing more and more about this in the future. This is something that's really interesting to us because we want to grow that ecosystem of apps out to not just apps that PTC produces, but to many, many more apps that our partners will produce as well. And last but certainly not least, you can see we're working a lot on our graphics infrastructure. We want to combine our work on our graphics infrastructure with work in assembly to continue to drive improvements in assembly performance, particularly with very, very massive assemblies. We're not just looking at graphics to help with that, though. We're also looking at our regeneration technology to try to drive very large assemblies to go regenerate a lot more quickly. I'll sum it up this way. If you're working with modular product designs and you're being very diligent about how you control references between the modules of your designs, then why should you bear the burden of regenerating 100,000 parts when I really got 10 or 15 modules making up those 100,000 parts? Wouldn't it be nice to regenerate those as modules and really speed up the regeneration process for your assembly? So we're working on some technology there as well. Okay, that timer says I've come to the end of my time. The timing looks pretty good. You guys have been a great audience. I really appreciate the shout out with the Unite clapping. And listen, everything you've heard about today, you can get a lot more details on from the team that's here representing PTC Creo. You've been really great. Thank you very much. I'll see you around today. Okay?